The purpose of this video is to ground the discussion for the rest of the discussion of morality on this channel. This is also the first of my philosophy videos, so I hope it's a blessing to watch. What is moral epistemology? What is moral ontology? Why does this all even matter? Why do philosophers like multisyllabic words so much? Well, this matters because this discussion right here will deal with the false perceptions of the argument I will make in future videos. To the last question, no one knows. At all. Epistemology is the study of how we come to know stuff. Therefore, moral epistemology deals with how we come to know right and wrong. Ontology has to do with the existence of a thing. So moral ontology deals with the existence of moral values and duties. My major point is this: we must not conflate moral epistemology and moral ontology. They are not the same things. I will deal mainly with the ontological question at present. In the future, I plan to provide a more extensive moral theory, but for now I want to simply ask the question, is there such a thing as objective good and objective evil? In other words, is morality totally subjective and relative, or is there a standard of right and wrong? Is anything actually right or wrong? I will not discuss the answer to those questions right now, but I want to show how those are not epistemological questions and therefore do not warrant epistemic objections. Asking the question, is there such a thing as objective good and objective evil, is identical to asking the question, does objective good and objective evil exist? Therefore, this has to do with existence, and in turn, ontology. In discussing this question, one cannot pose the objection, but wait, different cultures have a different sense of right and wrong, and therefore, morality is relative. This question solely deals with epistemology, how we come to discover moral values and duties. They are what we would call epistemological observations. Just because we might come to know different moral values and duties says nothing to whether moral values and duties objectively exist. It could just be that some cultures are right in what they've come to perceive as right, and some cultures are incorrect in their understanding of morality. In other words, just because different cultures have come to hold different perspectives of right and wrong says nothing to whether their perception of right and wrong is in itself correct. The perception may be mistaken. Let me illustrate this with an analogy. Let's talk about the epistemology of calculus, how one comes to know the rules of calculus, as opposed to the ontology of calculus, whether calculus actually exists. Suppose you have several students learning calculus. Let's call them Bob, Fred, and Phineas Gage. Well, Bob's got calc nailed. He's deriving those derivatives and integrating those polynomials, and he's learned it all from his teacher in the textbook. But Fred? Oh, Freddy. Freddy has a different teacher who, instead of teaching calculus by involving students in problem solving, teaches through interpretive dance and song. Freddy doesn't have a clue what's going on. Phineas smokes weed every day, and instead of going to class, decides to learn from what his dreams can tell him about calculus. His perception of how to do calculus is therefore extremely flawed. Let's think about these scenarios. Bobby has come to learn calculus through a textbook, Freddy has come to learn calculus through a flawed teacher, and Phineas has come to learn calculus through weed dreaming. While their epistemological method has certainly affected their understanding of calculus, their epistemology has nothing to do with the ontology of calculus, whether calculus exists or not. Just because they have different perceptions of how calculus works and have come to learn calculus differently does not at all affect calculus's ontology. Despite all the perceptions in the world, calculus still has objective rules that guides its operations. Mathematics and calculus still exists, even though perceptions of how it exists may be flawed. If someone were arguing against the objectivity of mathematics, it would not help their case to say, well, Bobby and Fred and Phineas all have different perceptions of math, and therefore math is not objective. The fact that they have different perceptions says nothing to the ontology of math, and so it is with morality. To say, well, you and I have different perceptions of right and wrong, and therefore morality is not objective, is to commit the non sequitur fallacy. The conclusion, therefore morality is not objective, does not follow at all from the premise, you and I have different perceptions of right and wrong. It's a non sequitur in the same way as if I said, Well, Bobby and I have different perceptions of calculus, and therefore calculus is relative and not objective. Now, to be fair, none of the above argumentation proves the objectivity of moral values. I have just laid the groundwork for the discussion. These future videos will presuppose the distinction between moral epistemology and moral ontology. For now, I will cover the ontological question. Thanks for watching. My goal will be to show you that atheism implies moral relativism, that moral relativism implies moral nihilism, that moral nihilism is false, and by extension, atheism is false. I hope you're interested, so stick around for these next videos. Thanks for watching.